John, great to be sitting down with you and having a discussion around vendor management. I know you're incredibly passionate about it, how important it is to have a campaign hugely successful based on the quality of vendor management. So let's have a bit of a chat firstly about, what's the philosophy and approach that you have around vendor management?
Well, thanks, Michael. The most important thing is to have the vendors in the same frame of mind that you're in, making sure that the expectations, their expectations of us and our expectations of them are met, and that's all done in the pre-framing, setting things up at the start so everybody is confident in each other's jobs leading up to the campaign.
Yeah, so there's no confusion. And if let's say I'm the vendor, if I did have some unrealistic expectations, you're helping me get those aligned well and truly right up front. So we are heading forward in the most effective way.
Yep, that's exactly right.
Yeah.
But it's also important that this is all done prior to the campaign starting. So the moment we get a listing and we put the file on Kate's desk, Kate's first job is to ring that vendor and just introduce herself and say, look, John and Andrew and Fiona would have spoken to you about me. This is what we're going to do with the photos. When's the best date? When's the best time? And the meetings they spoke about, let's organise those now. And they booked them 6 o'clock every Tuesday during the campaign.
Awesome. So they're all scheduled, pre-scheduled, locked and loaded, so there's a level of confidence that the client knows. And I like the way you've taken it out of your hands and it's become a client service role to make sure those things happen well and truly.
Well, it's easier for Kate, it's harder for us because if we say to the vendor, we want to see you at 6 o'clock Tuesday, they say, oh look, we've got the 2 kids, it's bathing time, can't you come to our house? Kate doesn't know. Kate just says the meetings are in the office, has to happen. What time suits you? Is it 5, at 6 or 7? When's the best time?
Yeah.
She makes them organise babysitters, whatever needs to be done. So it's more to our schedule.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And in amongst that, you put a lot of emphasis on the quality and the frequency of the meetings during the campaign?
Yes, it's got to be we do it every week. We also insist that 2 people are in each meeting. Okay. So that we've always got that second voice to bounce off.
Yeah, so you might hear something different. If we were both in the meeting, you'd say you might want to clarify a point or reinforce a point or something along those lines.
It is. It's also that other people can read people differently, and I think things are going okay with the vendor, and Fiona might say, well, John, you're in trouble there.
Yes.
People just read things differently. It's great to have second voices to bounce off. You have a bit of good cop, bit of bad cop, whatever's needed.
Excellent. So, pre-campaign, how important do you think that is to launching the campaign successfully?
I think that's the most important meeting of the campaign. That sets everything up. What it does is you go through what we expect from them, so we let them know that it's their job to set up the open for inspection. It's their job to turn the lights on, have the heating or cooling going, open doors, door stops, everything in place, candles burning. We then say we'll arrive 5 minutes before. When we leave, we'll just blow the candles out and leave. We will then make a phone call to you as the first thing we do when we leave the property. So they feel that, well, look, they've got confidence in us because they understand that we've crossed our T's, dotted our I's, and we're ready to start the campaign.
Yeah, fantastic, great. So what would be some of the conversation you'd have around buyers and buyer inquiry? Because I think that's a really important thing to set up front. How would you have that conversation?
Well, we would say to the vendors, look, based on similar properties like this, which has been similar price range, similar accommodation, similar location, we would expect to get around 20 to 25 groups through the property. Having had about 20 to 25 inquiries on the internet leading up to the first Saturday. Of those 20 to 25, we would expect to have 3 or 4 of those people showing interest in the property and asking to be kept informed if the property is going to be sold prior to auction.
Yeah, great.
Sometimes we can get 25 groups through and no engagement. Something's wrong. Sometimes we can get 10 or 12 through and have 3 or 4 that are engaged. Again, that's okay as well. So the expectation is that they're expecting 20, 25 through. When there's only 10, lights are flashing and they're quite often ringing us saying, hey, what do we do now? What do we do now? Which is great.
Yeah. So, or you have 10, and as you said, we've got 3 engaged buyers, or we've got 10 and we've got no engaged buyers. You know, Houston, we have a problem. Along those lines. And then that would be obviously a phone call conversation, then that meeting, and you've got a name for that meeting. What's the first
Just
meeting?
a campaign update, and that's usually the Tuesday after the first open for inspection.
Yes.
The last 12 months, I think I've had 2 or 3.
Right. But they've still been scheduled, haven't they?
They've been scheduled, and we've cancelled them if we're on track.
Right. Yeah.
The last couple of weeks, we've been having them because things are starting to change a bit, and we've had to have those conversations. We had one with James Redfern. I was doing a property. We had one at Ellis Road, and we just had a price adjustment. We changed the copy, changed the price, and we're away again.
Great, excellent. So this is really that pre-campaign meeting is giving me confidence that you've got it covered, that you've got a process, that you're following a pathway, and if we need to change strategy along the way, you'll be the first to know, and we'll have a plan B in place to capitalise on this.
And we always talk about we've got a plan. We're the board of directors of the sale of Ellis Road, and you look at them and say, we're the board.
Yes.
We make the decisions.
Yes.
We advise you, guide you, but you make the decisions.
Great.
And whether you take our recommendations or not, but usually they do because they've got the confidence in us because we've set things up on the way.
Yeah, fantastic. So John, that's brilliant. Anything else from a vendor management point of view you think is important to tip in?
I think the most important thing is we don't really discuss price much in that campaign update meeting, but we do in the mid-campaign. Once we get to the mid-campaign, that's where we talk about the buyers that we've got interested. There might be 1, 2 or 3 buyers that are interested. We talk about the pros and the cons of the property, but most importantly, we talk about price, and that's where you need that second person. It might be an example of me having dealt with the buyers saying, look, Michael, we've got the Smiths, the Fitzgeralds and the Joneses. It looks to me like at this stage, if the auction was tomorrow, you'd have to be making a selling decision in that $2 million to $2.1 million range.
Right.
And you zip it and listen to what they say. If they say nothing for 5 seconds, that's when the second voice comes in and says, well, where are your thoughts on price? And then you start to get the conversation going.
Yeah.
It's all done in a friendly, conversational manner, but it gets a guide because then the next week you've got to work on their price. If they're high, if they're on track, well, that's fine as well.
Yes, yeah. And what I like about this is, you're really playing the role of the doctor, not getting too emotionally attached to the price. This is what it is, rather than what I've seen a lot of agents do is play the price protection game, not have the healthy conversation, and therefore have an unhealthy campaign at the end of it, or someone bitter and twisted because, well, hang on, you haven't let me know about this.
It's just about sharing the information, being upfront and learning from Madeline Kennedy, just keeping a lid on things. Just really keeping a lid on it all and not getting too ahead of ourselves.
And what I do like is you used a term around we're the board, we're the board of advisors. You're making the decisions, we're the board of advisors. So you'd want us to make sure we're giving you the best advice possible. Great dialogue in there, well and truly. John, thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Michael. Thank you very much.
Was there something else to you want to pop in?
Oh, not really. Well, if you want to talk about the pre-auction meeting.
Oh, yeah, please.
We've got to make sure we've got the auctioneer there.
Yeah, best we do that.
Again, pre-auction meeting again is just making sure that you've got your 2 people in there. If the auctioneer is not one of those 2, the auctioneer's there as well. And they go through, we don't go through the pros and cons, we go through the buyers, what they're saying, any last minute requests for settlements, terms, deposits, that sort of thing, get the clarity on that. Again, go through the price discussion. We make sure that we're aligned on price. We don't bang heads with them too much, but then it's the auctioneer's job then to say, right, this is the scenarios that might happen on auction day. And we use their prices in those scenarios.
Yes.
As we go through it. Wish them all the best and away we go.
Fantastic. And typically you're doing your pre-auction meetings what day?
Tuesday.
A Tuesday before that. So you've got a
Tuesday or Wednesday.
Tuesday or Wednesday. So you've got a buffer of time. I've seen some agents do it on a Friday night and they go, Houston, we have a problem, and you've got nowhere to move from an education point of view.
We found that if we can do them on a Tuesday, maybe a Wednesday, depending on their schedules and our schedules, it's just about keeping in touch with them.
Absolutely.
If you've got their trust and you've been in touch and you've rung them after every open inspection, you've done everything you said you'll do, they will take your instructions and listen to you. And if it's below where their thoughts are, more often than not, they'll take your advice and they'll sell the property.
Yeah, yeah. And literally, you've presented to them with honesty, with transparency. Here's where we're going. Here's what we're up to. And I know you've got my best interest at heart in a major way. Fantastic.
Very good. Thanks, Michael.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Cheers.